In Israel now, protesters have taken to the streets demanding accountability for their government for the October the 7th attacks, 1,000 days on. Officials have yet to open a formal independent investigation. On Wednesday, the government missed another deadline to announce an inquiry. Several marches and memorial events are planned throughout Israel. Well, let's get more on this and cross live now to Nour Odeh, who's in Ramallah for us in the occupied West Bank. And Nour, I was reading the words of one of the protesters in the crowd there talking about this commission of inquiry, talking about the need for responsibility, for accountability. But key was this quote, looking for a true sense of shame and pain by those at the head of the system on October the 7th. How much support do these calls have in Israel?
Well, Jonah, it's a very polarized society. So those who support these calls for accountability are very well entrenched in the anti-Netanyahu camp. And there are still a sizable portion of the public that supports Netanyahu and this ruling coalition. But the fact of the matter is those who want the independent commission of inquiry are furious that the Israeli prime minister has laid the blame in every direction except his own. He refuses to take responsibility for the biggest security failure in Israeli history. And right now, they feel like they have no answers, not about what led up to the attack, not about what happened during that day, and certainly not about anything that happened afterwards. And that anger is palpable, it's very real, but it's also not across the board.
So heavily politicised it's all become, as you say. What chance of any sort of a reckoning, Nour, this side of elections due in October?
Well, this election will be the make it or break it election for the Israeli prime minister, for his ruling coalition. But the opposition has an uphill battle. First of all, they are predominantly also from the right wing, so they're competing for the same pool of voters. There aren't a lot of differences on policy between Netanyahu and his bloc and those opposing him. It is quite personal at this point. The differences have to do with very domestic issues, like the conscription law and the attempt by the ultra-Orthodox to have exemption, like the judicial overhaul that Netanyahu and his partners were trying to pass, which is called a judicial coup by the opposition. But there aren't real differences on security, on the occupation, on the genocide in Gaza. Those differences are really blurred, and that's why it's an uphill battle. So far, Jonah, the opposition still in the polls cannot topple this coalition, cannot earn enough votes to form a government.
Nour Odeh live for us there from Ramallah. Thanks, Nour.